As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. So today, I'm probably going to try to keep this fairly short. I lost my voice last week, so I wasn't able to record when I wanted to record. So very last minute, trying to get something recorded to head on over to the editor so we can get this week's episode up. But I think that's fine because the topic I had planned to talk about anyway is not one that I think we need a whole lot of time. And we're talking today about getting support with the hiring process and the difference between delegating and outsourcing when it comes to recruiting and, once again, and hiring. And some of this can be looked at, we're talking specifically about hiring within your business, but some of this we can look at for other perspectives as well when it comes to getting support in your business and whether you delegate or you outsource that work. So before we get too deep into anything, let's just talk about what the differences are and what I mean by delegating and what I mean by outsourcing. So delegating, for the purpose of this conversation, is giving the work to someone who is already working inside your organization. So you have an employee and you're giving them work to do, or you're going to hire an employee and have them do this type of work. Or outsourcing is you are hiring someone who is not a part of your organization to do the work. So you're giving it to someone outside of your organization. So that's the difference between delegating and outsourcing. Delegating to someone inside your organization, so an employee, and outsourcing, you're hiring another company to do this work for you. So as we talk about a lot with hiring employees or contractors, both can be beneficial. It's just a matter of what one is right for you and then making sure you set things up so you're not accidentally crossing lines of misclassification. Okay, so for each of these, we are going to look at kind of the pros and cons of delegating and outsourcing so that way you can make the decision of which one is right for you. Because with business, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We want to make sure that we're making the decisions that are right for us. So we want to look at the pros and cons for our business. I can't tell you which one is right. Yes, I help with recruiting, so I would love everyone to hire me to do their recruiting. But that's not the right decision for everybody. It's just like I talk about a lot. We got to make the right decisions for our business. We got to hire the right people for our business. And so even when it comes to things like this, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for our business. So there's nothing that's a one-size-fits-all approach. Okay, so let's start with the pros of delegating. So one of the pros of delegating is typically if you're delegating, and once again, we're looking at this from someone to help you with the hiring process. If you're delegating internally, for a lot of the people listening to this podcast, you don't have a huge hiring need. So you're hiring one-off positions, you're hiring here and there. It's not consistent. So you don't need a full HR team member that's going to be focusing on talent acquisition. So when you delegate internally, one of the pros is you're already paying that person. They're already on your payroll. This is just one of the tasks that you're giving them to do. So there's not an additional thing in your budget to get the support. The other pro about delegating internally for the hiring process is that there's no third party involved. You don't have to worry about a different company name showing up attached to your job post, just showing up in front of your candidates. There is that clear thing that the candidates are interacting with your organization the entire time. So those are the two quick pros about delegating internally. Let's look at the cons about delegating internally. So the first one that I want to talk about is potentially is there a conflict of interest with that team member who is going to be doing the hiring. So what I mean about this is sometimes we're going to delegate part of the hiring process to our assistant. Are we then bringing someone in who is going to be kind of over that assistant? So is this assistant going to be supporting that person as well? And if the assistant's going to be supporting that person as well, sometimes it's good to get their opinion, but are they really the right person to be making decisions for the process? So while you still might be involved in the final hiring decision and doing that final round interview, they're making a lot of decisions up front in the process. And is it a conflict of interest because of how they will end up working with this person? So that's something you really just have to evaluate on an individual basis to say, should this person be a part of this hiring process? The other thing is, do they actually know how to be successful with hiring? Listen to this podcast. You are already aware that hiring is not as easy as it seems. There are a lot of complexities to it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong and everything. And so we need to make sure that we're doing it right. We need to make sure that we're knowledgeable. We need to learn what we don't know that we don't know yet in order to be successful. So with that being said, if you're delegating to someone else, do they know how to be successful with hiring? Or are they at risk for bringing in the wrong person, which then is just going to cost your business time, money, and energy in order to try to get that person up to speed or to go back and eventually refill that position when you have to fire that team member or they leave because it's not the right fit. So when you delegate, you really want to make sure that you're delegating to someone who has hiring skills. So they've been there, they've done it, they know what it means to have a good hire versus a bad hire. So they're able to be successful for you. Okay, now let's look at outsourcing. Just once again, a few high-level things of pros and cons of outsourcing. So outsourcing, once again, hiring someone outside your organization to do the hiring for you. So this could be someone like growing your team who can support you during the hiring process. So the first thing we're going to look at for a pro is they have the expertise. As we just talked about, a con for delegating is they might not have the expertise. When you are outsourcing to a hiring expert, this is their job. They do it all the time. They have the expertise. They know how to be successful in the hiring process. The other pro for outsourcing is time. You get to save that time internally, and they have the time to continue moving things through the process because this is their job. It's what they do. They're not balancing recruiting with all the other things on their to-do list. Recruiting is their job. Now let's look at the cons of outsourcing. The first thing is the expense. You have to pay someone to do this work. And some of it can be seen as very costly. It is one of those things as like the long-term return on your investment should 100% be there. But in the meantime, it is costly. You have to pay someone, and it's kind of paying that money up front, hoping to get that return later. And then the last con that we'll talk about today is that fact that it is a third party involved in your process. So candidates are going to see that other company's name. They're going to sometimes not have as much trust because there's someone else involved in the process. It hasn't happened very frequently, but it has happened before where I'll have candidates that are just not sure because there's someone else involved in the process. And there are some recruiting companies out there that are just very spammy. So they create a bad rep for everyone else. So it's just sometimes that impression that there's someone else involved in the process. My opinion, that shouldn't matter that much because a lot of companies work with recruiters, so a lot of candidates are used to it, but it is just one of those things to call out because it does hinder some candidates from wanting to continue with the process when they get that email from an organization that's not an organization that they're hoping to work with. There is a lot of confusion sometimes when recruiters are involved in the process. Is this a sourcing firm? So as a candidate, am I going to be working for kind of like the recruiting company, the sourcing firm, or am I actually going to be working for the company that has the opening? So those are just some of the things you probably want to talk about and make sure you're clear on when you go and hire a recruiter, when you go to outsource, is what does that process look like for candidates? How is it handled, and everything, so that way you are aware of what the candidates will feel and see and everything as they go through the process. Okay. So like I said, I was going to try to keep this quick. So we are about 10-ish minutes. So I'm going to go and wrap up. So those are just some quick high level pros and cons of delegating versus outsourcing. So you can hopefully start to see like which one might be right for you. Because the fact is, if you have a hiring need, you need to hire. And if you don't have time to do it yourself, you need support to do it. So do you go to someone inside your organization, or do you go to someone outside your organization to get that support? And of course, if you need that support outside your organization, Growing Your Team is here to guide you, to see if we're a good fit, and we're happy to support you if you need help with your hiring process, whether that's getting knowledge and guidance so you can hire like a pro, or if it's having us take over the recruiting so that way you can focus on everything else in your business while we find your perfect fit candidate for you.
Are you ready to hire a new team member for your business and you want to ensure you hire the person who can succeed in the role, make you happy, and positively impact your bottom line? Then let's talk and see how growing your team can help you master the art of hiring. Through bespoke hiring frameworks and comprehensive guidance, you will learn how to attract candidates who have the passion you desire and the skills needed to succeed. At Growing Your Team, women entrepreneurs and leaders work with us to help them expand their unique businesses by teaching them how to hire like a pro. Let's connect and see how we can help you. Send me an email at jamie@growingyourteam.com. That's Jamie, JAMIE @growingyourteam.com, or head on over to growingyourteam.com/jumpstart, with jumpstart being all one word, and let's talk about how you can become a confident leader who hires right every single time.